Welcome to the Laws of Life with Blanca Greenstein. I'm your host, Blanca. This is a platform specifically designed to help us all improve and be successful in life and in business. To learn from each other the laws of life, whomever we meet during our journey. I hope you find this connection beneficial and have a wonderful day. Welcome to a very special edition of the Laws of Life. I'm your host, Blanca Greenstein, and today we're going to be speaking about a topic we've never discussed on the Laws of Life: surviving sex trafficking. In addition to learning about how we can become more aware of this problem and how we can prevent it from happening, what laws of life can we learn and teach our children and our colleagues and our friends to prevent these situations, and how can we help our friends that have encountered and been a part of this problem. So we have two very wonderful guests with us today. Our first guest is Lena.
Hi.
Thank you for being with us, Lena. And Lena is an advocate of survivors of sex trafficking, and she's going to share her own personal story of when she was a part, unfortunately, of a sex trafficking situation and how you escaped from that. Thank you for being willing to share your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
It takes a lot of courage and a lot of confidence to tell your story and want to teach it to other people. So thank you. I'm very curious and interested to hear your story.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have with us Becky Diamond, the founder of the Hepzibah House, which provides all different types of services to women that have gone through sex trafficking situations, from housing to supplies to... Tell us a little bit.
We do mental health counseling, we do trauma therapy, life and job skill training, case management, and we have a safe house program where we can provide housing for up to 18 months for gals that are trying to get their feet under them again.
So Becky, the first question that comes to mind is how did you become interested in this mission?
Funny story, I was minding my own business, and I'm a woman of faith, and as our youngest daughter was in her last year of high school, I felt like the Lord directed me to go back to school and get my degree in counseling psychology. I thought he was kidding. I ignored him. About 6 months later, he goes, "Why haven't you taken the GRE?" I went, "Oh my goodness, you were serious." So I went back to school, and about halfway through the program, I heard a guy speaking about human trafficking in the United States, and he was opening a safe house and restoration program. Mm-hmm. And I went, "Oh my goodness, that's why I went back to school." And then when I graduated with a degree in mental health counseling, I was looking for another organization that was providing services for survivors in my area, which is Palm Beach County, and there was really no one.
Wow. How long ago did you start your organization?
We got our nonprofit designation in 2011.
Was that a difficult process?
Not really.
Okay.
I filled out the paperwork myself, and I'm not especially sharp, so regular mortals can do it.
Did you do this journey alone? Did you have some friends that supported you?
We had a meeting at my house. I guess I expected 3 or 4 people to come, that were interested in what we're doing, and we ended up having 40 people show up, and some of them were business sharpies, and that kind of held my hand and kicked me in the backside until I got all the
That's incredible.
All the details done.
So you have a home where women that have survived sex trafficking situations. Mm-hmm. How are you referred?
I get referrals from all over. I get referrals from law enforcement, from victims advocates, from other groups working with clients, from there's a number of people that have found us on the website. I have referrals from women in the program that are reaching back to women that are still in the line.
What are you seeing out there as far as the trends as to what type of women are you meeting, and are there a lot of similar patterns? What is happening out there? Because we don't know. Tell us, what does it look like out there?
Regular mortals. It looks like your mom, your sister, your friend, your cousin, your coworker. And increasingly, it's boys and girls that are being trafficked.
So you also house male survivors?
I don't work with men. I only work with adult women.
Okay.
Is our focal point, but
it doesn't...
from every walk of life, from kids that were straight A students in high school and they got tripped in college. Mm-hmm. One of my survivors that I worked with had a scholarship to FIU, and she went and she's gorgeous. She she walked in the door and you're like, oh yeah, I believe you're a model, And,
Okay.
And she had gone on a shoot for a Bacardi rum commercial.
Okay.
And they drugged her, and they had her sign paperwork saying that she was willingly participating in a porn film, and that's how I got started for her. She was like.
And the next thing she knew, she was in the porn industry.
Well, she woke up in her dorm room the next day going, what happened? I have these weird memories. Surely these guys would use Xanax enough to really knock somebody out. Mm-hmm. And she had just enough facility to sign paperwork, And then about, 6 months later, not that long, 6 weeks later, she had a friend that Facebooked her and said, I didn't know you did porn. She goes, I don't, adamant, no way.
So she didn't even remember that she had been in the movie and someone else identified the film?
She had these weird memories that was going, no way, that's just too whack. That couldn't have happened.
So how did she find you? How did the two of you link up?
She, it was, that was how she got into it. And when she got out, she had a pretty significant alcohol addiction. And so when she came back, she actually graduated eventually from FIU, came back up to Palm Beach County, and that's where she found us through another group that was working with survivors doing social, it was a social enterprise.
What did you do to help her specifically?
I am a licensed mental health counselor, so I do a lot of trauma therapy, I do mental health counseling.
And let me ask you a question. Mental health counseling, what is your experience? Is it something that you can see? I mean, how many weeks, months do you normally work with a client?
It all depends. That particular woman did not have an abusive family of origin experience. And so I think I worked with her about 15 to 18 months. And she's actually doing really well. She's going on to get her master's in counseling psychology. She's like one of those, success stories.
That's wonderful.
But that's actually the exception. Most of the women that I work with, the trafficking is just the latest in a whole lifelong worth of trauma. And for most of them, the trafficking was not the worst. That surprised me. I did not anticipate that.
You thought that would be the worst.
Yeah. But for many of them, that's just like, oh, that wasn't nearly as bad as this that happened when I was 4 and 7 and 11, 10.
What kind of support is your organization looking for right now in terms of volunteers, and what do you need? And how can our viewers help you?
Well, we're always looking for volunteers. Right now we have a social enterprise where I pay survivors to come and make organic animal treats. It's a drag if you're teaching them life skills and it's all theory on how to manage money. So I want to be able to give them employment.
So you teach business skills.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And so I would love to have more stores willing to sell our products, so vendors.
Oh,
we have 4
so you're making products,
yeah,
and then you're trying to find vendors that sell. Yeah. So what are some of the products?
It's organic, non-GMO animal treats.
Oh, and that's great.
Yeah, and so it's it's a small cottage industry, but that helps pay for the program.
Well, once the Laws of Life is launched,
mm-hmm,
we'd love to sell those products for you on our website.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
And then you can support the Hephzibah House by buying those products on the Laws of Life website. So this is it's gonna be interesting. We can dialogue about that and brainstorm. So Lena, let's turn to you and feel free to chime in, Becky, as Lena tells her story.
Okay.
If you see a pattern or a theme from your own experience. But Lena, as an advocate of survivors of sex trafficking, and how did it start? Like what was the first piece of the puzzle in your life that you think led you to being in a sex trafficking situation?
Well, it started like I'm a kid of divorced parents.
Okay.
So I never had the father figure in my life. And basically when I grown up a little bit and in the teenager age, I just started to do whatever I want to do. And no one could tell me a thing.
Where was your mother at this point?
Well, she was, as a kid of divorced parents, she was just working 2 or 3 jobs.
That many jobs?
Yes, to provide for me and my sister. And plus, keep in mind, we were still in a communist time. So we had extremely, extremely hard time. Mm-hmm. And when you're a single parent, with 2 little kids. Well,
It's tough.
Yes.
What country were you raised in?
I'm original from Bulgaria.
Okay. So you're a teenager, child. So you grow up a little bit. You become a teenager. What happens during the teenage chapter?
Well, then is come the point when I start to have a lot of arguments with my mom. And we had all the time clashes. And at that time I didn't thought of, but now when I think of it, it's probably because I had a lot of anger in myself and I missed the father figure. So I start to run from home. I start to get in the wrong crowd of people.
So you left your mother's house.
Yes, I just run.
And you got a job. Where did you live as a young teenage runaway?
Well, after finishing the high school, I had to get back home, and to me it was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a drama. Mm-hmm. So I get back home, and I was looking for jobs. So I become a waitress in a bar, in a night bar. So that's where you meet a lot of people and a lot of guys, a lot of girls, and I'm a very social person. So that's where I met a guy, which was kind of very charming to me at that time.
He was a customer or an employee in the bar?
He was a customer.
Okay.
He was a customer.
And you were bartending or waitressing?
I was a waitressing.
Okay. So he started to talk to you?
Yes, and he always was sitting in the places where I serve, and he was very charming. And you know, when you're coming from not bad family, but situation I come from, it's like it doesn't take much for you just to fall for it.
Okay. So he was very kind to you?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a pattern. That's a pattern. Typically, they call it lover boys, where, you know, you're beautiful, I love you, you know, and it starts out pleasant. It starts out boyfriend, girlfriend, and then, oh my goodness, we're low on cash, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah, Tarzan just was wonderful. I think, oh my gosh, I've been waiting all my life for such a nice guy.
Okay. So, literally, the second day you met this man, you made a decision to move in with him.
Yes, I did.
And did he invite you to move in with him? Did he say, Lena, I love you and I want to live with you? How did he accomplish doing that in such a short time frame?
Well, we just had a very good click the night before, and I just moved.
You were attracted to him. You liked him.
Yes.
You thought he would be a great boyfriend.
Yes.
You went with your gut instinct. How old were you at the time of that relationship?
About 16.
You were only 16. How old was he, if I may ask?
He was 20.
Okay, so he was relatively young.
Yes.
So let me toss something in. Okay.
Sure.
So she's talked about, you know, living in a household where there was a lot of fighting, a lot of, you know, conflict.
Ups and downs.
Okay. So as a kid, you begin to, that becomes your normal. You know, if I was a fish and I grew up in water, that's my normal. And so that means as an adult and as I, you know, teen years, you know, and on forward, that seems normal to me. Okay. I worked with a woman that the first guy that she met in a bar, first time ever in a bar, he explains what he does for a living. He's a stable builder, has nothing to do with horses. He collects women to sell to traffickers.
Collectors.
Yeah. And she thought it was cool.
He was candid about that exact job.
And because her experience, you know, family of origin, wildly abusive, drugs and alcohol, domestic violence, she thought it was cool. She had no grid that she was next. It
didn't even occur to her that she could be potentially a victim because of her childhood.
Right. If somebody said that to me, I'd be going, where's the door? Where do you think they want one? Because they're fixing to get one, right?
Well, anybody that admits that is admitting that they're committing a crime. And if someone is admitting the commission of a crime, they're probably not a good person for a young person to be around.
Right.
And that's why education, what you're doing, Lena, as a survivor, and what you're doing, Becky, in your daily journey, both of you, is to teach education and to try to prevent this from occurring in the future.
Awareness is huge.
And to teach us how to ensure that we can help someone if we see it happen. And we're going to talk about that. So going forward with your story, and I love how you're integrating your own experience into Lena's story, and it's really interesting. Let me ask you, so you move in with him. What happens next?
Well, then we just lived great for a few months.
Okay.
And
did he buy you clothes? He bought you food?
Everything.
You didn't have to work.
No. I just quit the place where I was working.
He told you to quit?
Yes, because he said, well, you don't need to work.
Okay.
Well, when you're young,
Right.
well, what do you want more? You're like, well, sure, why not? That sounds like great.
Okay.
So I didn't work, so a few months I didn't do anything. In the meanwhile, he had another girl who was living with us.
Okay.
And I knew she was his ex-girlfriend, but I never had a problem that she lived with us. She was really sweet girl.
Was it a 2-bedroom apartment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you weren't jealous that this other woman was living in the apartment with you and your what you thought to be your boyfriend?
No, I
No
didn't.
jealousy.
No, not at all.
How are you so secure? Because most women wouldn't accept that.
Well, probably, now when I come to think of it, probably I never really loved him or so.
It was
So
more of an
just to-
escape.
Yes, but at that time I didn't realize that. I'm realizing it now after years. But at that time I thought, why is his ex? So it's a reason to be ex. So it didn't bother me.
Is that a pattern, Becky?
Well, it's enabling. You know, it's codependency, and very often, you know, the women that I've worked with, because most of them suffered pretty profound family of origin abuse and that kind of stuff. That's pretty typical, and they will do almost anything to maintain a relationship, even when it's toxic, you know.
So did it get toxic, the relationship?
With the time, not in the beginning. That was just at the times.
Where
went
did the relationship go next?
Well, next, after a few months, was the time like he comes one day by me and tell me, okay, you have to go to work. Now, the thing was, I thought, well, sure. So I thought I'm just gonna go and look like a waitress, just because this never crossed my head.
Didn't cross your
Never.
You didn't see any signs him having unusual phone calls, going out at odd times?
We were all the time together.
He gave you his
non-stop-
undivided attention?
Yes, we were non-stop together.
So he didn't
Non-stop
have
together.
were any other males?
He had a lot
coming?
of money. I didn't know how this money are coming from.
Okay.
I never asked them because I thought it's none of my business. And if one day he decides to tell me, he'll come up forward and he will tell
Did
me.
he buy you presents?
Yes, of course.
Did he take you for dinner?
Yes, we had a very, very normal relation in the beginning. And then one day he came and said, okay, you have to go to work. And I said, okay.
Where did he
That's
put
what-
you? He found the
Well,
job?
first place and how it started, we went to a hotel. So I want to say that in Europe, where I was, the people come in hotels, and there are the girls. So people come, choose which girl they want. They go and rent the room in the hotel.
Where is the selection process take place? In one room?
In the bar, it's kind of a bars where the girls sit.
Okay, so it's like a bar room.
Yes,
In
in the
the
hotel
hotel.
many hotels has a lobby
So they
bar
sort
and
of-
stuff.
They walk in the lobby?
No,
and
they don't love because there, especially in Bulgaria, it's illegal. So you just cannot sit up there. And
You have to pretend you're a customer
Yes,
of the bar.
so they come as the customers and they sit on a separate table with few people, like if it's a few guys.
Sure.
And the girls, the working girls, they're sitting on a different table and they have their drinks or food. It just looks, if you come from outside, looks like
A normal-
nothing going on.
Got it.
But a person in the middle is the trafficker. So the guys have a contact with the trafficker. So he tell them, okay, you go in this and this hotel, there is a girls. When you go there, choose which one you want, let me know. And afterwards, the trafficker sends the girls in the rooms. They don't
So-
go together, the guys and the
Understood.
girls.
So what happened? So you're in the hotel. You're having a drink. You think you're there for a regular
No,
drink?
I knew for what I was going, but was,
He knew that you knew you were going
yes,
there
he
to
said,
have
we're
sex
going to a
with
hotel
someone?
and you're going to work. Yes.
And you didn't resist that concept.
Well, what could I have done? I ran away from my family, and I'm not gonna go back because, keep in mind, I will put my family in danger. So I'd rather take whatever is going on me and keep my family aside.
Pretty
Then-
normal.
Did he threaten you? Did he say, let me ask you a question. You've never done anything like this in your life. You're only 16 years old. Now you have a boyfriend that you thought you were in love with, to some extent. You enjoyed being with him. Says, now you're going to go to work. I want you to have sex with other men, and so we can make money for our household. When you heard that with your ears for the first time, what went through your mind?
Well, the thing is that nothing is going on through your mind because it's such a tremendous shock that you just don't know what to think.
Okay.
And everything goes so fast. Everything goes so fast that you don't have a time to react from the shock you're getting into.
You were a little in shock. Becky,
What-
observation.
What typically happens is everybody disassociates, right? I'm driving down 95, I miss my exit. I have to go to the next one. But the more trauma that someone's experienced in their life, and domestic violence is a pretty significant trauma, then the more I learn to rely on disassociation as a coping strategy. Okay? So this woman in the bar, the guy told her he's a stable builder. She checked out. She disassociated. It didn't register to her.
It was the normalcy. Right. So you're saying it's like the fish in the water. You're saying she was already used to lack of normalcy. Well, so this was just another abnormal event that she became immune to?
Well, when he said, this is what you're going to do, pretty high probability that she just checked out. It's like, what do I do?
And you were so young.
And then you end up just numb going through the steps. And then you're looking at it in your rearview mirror going, oh my goodness, I guess this is what I do. This is who I am. It's interesting because when I work with women, almost all of them come in and say, I was a prostitute. And I go, okay, it's not my job to argue with people, but I wait a couple of weeks and I'll come back to that and I'll say, was that your idea? No, not at all. What if he'd said, oh, I hate this job. Let me go get a job at Target. No, that wouldn't have been an option. Wow, my mom is really sick. I need to go home. No, they wouldn't let me go. I couldn't escape. Did you make money? Oh, I made a ton of money. Awesome. How much of that did you get to keep? None of it.
Did you get to keep any of the money?
No. Usually you don't get to keep really money. For the little things what you need, like cigarettes or taxi or just really little stuff.
So your house and your food was your compensation?
Yes.
The ability to live with him.
So you have to
how many minutes were you with the stranger?
Well, this is usually, there it's work, like by hour.
Okay.
They pay you by hour.
Okay.
Now, and this hour is like the girls usually what they do. They try just to talk with the person and to gain more and more time, just get closer to the ending of the hour, and then whatever they do is just for 5 minutes and they quit. It's in their interest just to keep the person more busy with talking and let's have a drink, we have a whole hour.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So it's a lot of tricks what you can go just to try to procrastinate what has to happen.
So you learn how to use up the hour in a non-sexual way, so that is the least part of the hour.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and afterwards, when we were done, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Did they use birth control?
Who, the girls?
The man.
The man, birth control? I
don't
know. Yes. This is a very strong suggestion, for them to do. And I think if you're smart enough, no matter what it is, you better use it. And the girls I was with, they were, they really try at least to do that.
Okay.
Just to use condoms.
To protect themselves.
Yes.
And how many, after that first experience, were you upset with your boyfriend? Like, were you angry at him on any level? Or did it just become the new normal?
Well, I was upset, but I don't know if I was so much upset with him that I was so much upset with myself, because the feeling what I got of myself was a feeling what I have never experienced before. I didn't know what to think of myself, and was very hard to cope with what's happened. But the thing is, once if you're into that, it's just very hard to go back, because even if you go back, you feel horrible, you feel you betrayed yourself in a way, and you feel the shame how you're going to go back by your family of what you did.
Well, that's the thing I want to say to people that are watching out there, is that this is why, and you as a mental health counselor, a lot of tell me if this is, if you agree with this, but my observation is that a lot of mental health is a product of being judged by other human beings. Because human beings have a natural need to be accepted. It's the human factor. And so you didn't want to go back to your mother, because at that point you felt you'd already let your mother down and that your mother would reject you. Do you think that if we started creating a culture where parents were more accepting of mistakes, these things happening, not being so judgmental, that would help minimize these situations?
Well, let me take a half step back first. I'm sure everybody's heard the term blame shifting, right? My dog ate my homework, right? But traffickers are masters at shame shifting. This is you. This is who you are. This is all you're good for. This is all you know how to do. You know, if your family found out, they would totally reject you. And so that just adds this, you know, the bars, you know, the prison walls, you know.
Did they tell you that, Lena? Did they tell you your mother will never take you back?
No, they didn't tell me that. I want to say very clear that in each case, in each girl, to get to the point where there is just a different, they come from different environment. To me, I had my trauma. I knew what I'm doing. I knew I'm there, but I was totally for a different reason than other girls. I didn't want to go back home because I knew my parents are in danger. And I knew what I have to go through, and I was there to take anything what's coming my way than to endanger my family.
Where did the danger factor come into play?
Well, they come and tell that I have a sister, okay. Yes, and it's not so far away from their mind that they will pass by, they kidnap my sister. Now, I could never forgive to myself if that's happened to my sister just because I didn't do what I supposed to do just to protect them.
So it became a sacrifice to protect your
sister?
Yes,
in many cases is. Right. And that's
another pattern.
That's one of the ways. That's one of the ways. You know, I know where your mom and dad live. I'll burn the house down at night.
It's emotional
I know where your little
extortion.
sister goes, and they'll take photos. This is your little sister, right? And she's in 10th grade. You know, they use coercion. You know, they take photos of the gal while she's being trafficked and say, "I'll put it on Facebook." You know, you run away, your life is over as you know it.
Did they? So they threatened your family, Lena?
Not personal them. They start threatening me that they will just go by them. The thing what was with me, the difference was, on purpose, while I was in this situation, I stopped any contact with my family. I stopped any contact. Nothing that could link me to them.
I assume
so. What's happened, when it comes to the point, they tell me, well, if you run away, we'll break your legs, we'll send somebody to kill you. In many cases, they do that. So you know what I tell them? Because I came to the point that I had enough. And I didn't care what's going to happen to me because more worse than that is for me being a death.
Well, were you physically abused?
Yes, yes. They beat you and they drug you, they abuse you, they rape you, even the actual traffickers. It's just a horrible, horrible thing.
In the state of Florida, if they use Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 drugs to create a dependency, they've already met the minimum bar for force, fraud, or coercion for a trafficking charge. One of the women I worked with, her trafficker would beat her on the back of the head because the blood and the bruises wouldn't show and she could still go to work. And in her later years, her hands were going numb because of the nerve damage from the repeated beatings. That's typical.
Well, you're lucky to be alive. You're lucky
you survived
that.
And just wanted to say, in my case was, when it's come to a point they threatened me again, I had enough from because I was there for a few years in that position. I told them, well, that's fine. Do what you want to do with me. And you're going to go by my family? You don't know what to think about my family because I never contact my family for years just for that reason. And just one day I ran away. I didn't care. The thing with them was...
So you ran away one day?
Yes.
And how did you run away? Did they keep you in a locked room or was it easy to get away?
Well, at that day it was easy because I used to work in Holland because I was trafficked there.
In Holland?
Yes.
Okay.
And usually the places where you work is a windows as well. Well, they're not gonna dare to come because everywhere is civilian cameras, is a police, and I would like to mention that it is legal to work in Holland.
Of course.
So one day I just had, thank God, I had a guy who I knew and he came by me and he said, well, if you need help, I will help you. And I
not connected to the trafficking gentleman?
No,
okay.
Not at all. They will not tell you that I will help you. You know?
So he just he had a sense that you needed help.
Well, was
he a client?
Yes. The thing was that I never hid that I had traffickers, and the reason I did it, I tell to everybody I could tell. The reason I did it because I was hoping that someone will notice me and it's going to help me.
Okay.
Many girls they don't say it because they're embarrassed or
Isn't
for
it
numerous
obvious?
reasons.
Isn't it fairly obvious based on the drugs, based on the abuse that you are being trafficked,
No.
or the so in
No,
the
you
client
can't
in the eyes
say
of the client, you're simply a prostitute, but
no.
they don't see it as a victim of
You're
trafficking.
really not that. It might sound horrible, but in the eyes of the clients, in many cases, you are just a piece of meat.
Right.
That's what it is.
You're just a piece of meat, and
It
your
is.
circumstance and what you're going through is the last thing on their mind.
Yes, they think it may, and with the men who have spoken afterwards, when I start doing my speeches, etc., it's like this even doesn't cross their mind, and I tell you why. Because many girls who works, they're not all looking horrible as we see them on the movies. This is just so
Some of
wrong
them-
prescription of
How
the
are they
working
looking?
girls. Well, they're looking like me, and if I'm outside on the street and I'm trafficked,
You would never know.
how are you going to know that I'm working?
In other words, they're wearing makeup, their hair is arranged, they're
Everything
they're
is
dressed
perfect.
okay.
Everything is perfect. And what is going on when the guys, and we speak especially for the girls who you can see them, like we speak in Holland in the windows, they think, oh, if she's there, she looks beautiful. Her hair is done.
So
her
she's
nails.
not being hurt. You're not. They don't see
They
the
think
abuse.
they're there because of they like it. Now, here the problem is, which normal woman will like doing that?
Right.
No
Right.
one. If they're there, is some hidden reason behind it. It's a serious
Right.
traumatic reason or events what's happened to lead them to the point where they are.
Well, the key, every woman's experience is different,
Yes.
and there are women that do choose that as a
I
profession.
agree. I agree.
But in your scenario, you have a comment?
Yeah.
Tell me.
What 5-year-old little girl goes, I know what I want to be when I grow up. There's a journey that lands people there of, statistically, the women that I work with, 85% have been violated.
But in the
Molestation.
trafficking context,
In the trafficking
it's
context.
imposed on you. But
Yes.
as the client's perspective, they're not thinking about trafficking.
No.
Right.
They're not thinking about a kidnapping situation.
Right.
Crossing over international lines. You went from Bulgaria to Holland.
And most of the women that I work with, I think there was 2 that were physically restrained. The rest of them were held by manipulation and control. And you don't come home until you have $1,500. Don't even think about it. And if you come home with
You'll
$1,495,
be abused.
totally beaten.
Were you abused for insufficient profitability?
Well, it's abusement in any way.
But
make
were
money,
you
make
abused
money.
if you didn't make enough money?
Oh,
at a
yes,
particular
but all
day?
girls go
Were you
through that.
physically abused
Yes.
on a daily basis or
Yes.
a weekly basis?
Yes, yes. It's
Okay.
just
Pretty typical.
horrible.
And
Yeah.
statistically, the research indicates that of women that are being commercially sexually exploited, that's the politically correct term, okay? 90% are controlled by trafficker, gang, or mafia. That means they don't keep the money that they make. 92% would leave the life if they had a better option.
And is that part of your role to help them find that better option by building these products that you're building, teaching them how to create these products, teaching them some business skills?
Well, obviously, our objective is to help them develop marketable skills through either education or experience or mentoring and internships, with businesses. Some of the gals are amazing. There's, one of the gals that has been in the program has an art show coming up. She's an amazing artist, all self-taught.
Incredible.
Never took any classes, but it's been part of her process dealing with the trauma. So there's an art show April 6th at the Baca Bailey's
right.
Community Art Gallery off Atlantic in
And you're going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring in another guest that's currently also helping bring awareness
Right.
to sex trafficking. And we're going to go ahead and bring him in. We're going to take a brief break. Thanks for watching. We're now being joined by Roger D. Hart. Roger, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And we really appreciate it. Actually, as we walk through your story, Lena, and your story is still continuing through this show, we're just going to take a brief break. Actually, Roger, you're the reason that today's show has happened, because I was introduced to you by the Honorable Leona Holmes, and as soon as I told her about the laws of life, Judge Holmes said, I want you to meet Roger. And literally, she told me about you. So shout out to Judge Holmes. Thank you for this incredible introduction, because we wouldn't be on this journey right now if it wasn't for Judge Holmes. Becky wouldn't be here. Lena wouldn't be here sharing your story and educating us about your survival and your journey. And Roger, so tell us, how did you become committed to the mission of raising awareness for sex trafficking?
First, thanks for allowing me to be here today. What really moved me first was when I found out Broward County, South Florida, was number 3 in the country, but most people didn't know about it. That's what first motivated me to start, getting more curious about this.
Okay. So, all right. So you hear the data, and what do you do next?
I started meeting people that's involved with either victims or organizations that support victims, and because I wanted to hear the stories, hear the stories so it can, for me, I like to get personal because that motivates me more, hearing what someone's gone through, and it hits home more.
Where did you find stories? I mean, you introduced us to Lena, which we appreciate because we've learned so much from your story, Lena.
Right.
How did you meet people?
Well, I worked at the Broward County Courthouse, so you meet, all types of people there.
Okay.
So that was my first outlet.
Okay. And then you also created a nonprofit?
I started a 501c3 nonprofit, First Stops, which means saving teens and others from predators, because I was serious about really, when you have a nonprofit, you can go further, as far as with research, far as with accessibility and things like that. So, and that's what I did. I felt like, if I'm going to take on a cause, I want to be fully prepared to, face whatever challenges of finding out.
What is the mission of your nonprofit? What's your goal?
My goal is to, what a nonprofit is to educate, people or potential victims from not being, a human traffic victim.
So, in other words, to help educate the public about this epidemic?
Yes, and also to find a comfort place for those that's been unfortunately victimized by it.
Okay, so you do help provide some housing?
Well,
not yet.
Not yet. That's my goal.
That's your goal.
After the walk, yes.
Your goal is to raise money so that you can create facilities for women that have survived this.
Yes.
So you,
and men.
So you have your dream continues to evolve.
Yes.
So tell us about this march that you're doing.
You mean just walk it on the Okay. Next Saturday, March 31st, right in front of the new courthouse, I'll be starting a walk from there to Washington, D.C. And my whole goal is to raise awareness for human trafficking, because I'm quite sure you've heard my friend's story here. And there are many more untold stories. And that's my goal, to have more untold stories come out through this walk.
And this walk, I mean, you're literally walking from Fort Lauderdale to Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. How long is this walk going to take?
You make it sound so far.
It's pretty far. I mean, I barely walked 3 blocks to the grocery store, so walking to Washington, D.C. is quite a feat.
Matter of fact, last night my brother was like, "You sure you want to change the Tallahassee at the last minute?" I said, "No, I'll still go Washington." It's going to take between 46 and 51 days to walk there.
46. And who do you plan on walking with you?
Well, there are going to be people, of course, start off at the courthouse. There are going to be lots of people joining me. I'm not sure how far they're going to go with me, but, I welcome the company. But in different cities along the way, different organizations are going to have people joining me for a couple miles at a time and things like that. And when I get to Capitol Hill, there are going to be a lot of people as well joining me and, fighting this fight.
Are you going to be videotaping during the walk?
It's advised that I do that, so I probably will.
You definitely need a person to go with you, hopefully, to try to cover your journey and all the different people you meet. It'll be an interesting movie, actually, to see, you know, how that would go. So what day of the week is March 31st?
Next Saturday morning.
So you're going to leave. So this is a 46 to 51 day walk.
Yes.
What are you going to pack on this trip? Are you backpacking it? What's the game plan?
Like at first, I have to have my Snicker bars. I have to Snicker,
Snicker bar, I think you should contribute to Roger.
but I'm gonna keep it as basic as possible. Things that I need, because I've talked to 2 people that's done cross country walks, and for the most part, you get stuff along the way.
A lot of people,
know what I mean?
A lot of people will be providing meals to you along the way, supporting you.
Yeah, they'll be doing that. But I mean, just far as, for example, you know, starting off in Florida, the weather's going to be pretty much warm.
Right.
But as I go to the northern states, I'm going to have to get more gear as far as to brace for that.
Do you have any points of contact, you know, to get the the winter coat in the colder areas?
I don't, but...
Well, I say to our audience who's watching is, you know, if you have point of contacts, is there a map posted?
Yes, I have a map. I'm pretty much going straight up US 1 Federal Highway.
Wow.
All the way to Jacksonville. When I hit Jacksonville, I'm going to head to Route 17, which is pretty much along the coast, which goes through Savannah and I think Myrtle Beach, Wilmington. So that's going to be, and then I'll be heading a little west after Wilmington to Richmond, and up north to DC.
Well, I ask all our viewers that are watching that if you can meet Roger during his journey along the way and offer a hot meal, a good winter coat, whatever he needs. So once you get to Capitol Hill, Roger, what do you have an appointment scheduled? What's the plan?
I have a permit to. There's an area that seats 5,000 people.
Wow.
And they've given me that. It's literally right in front of the Capitol.
Amazing.
I forgot the name. I forgot the specific area, but it's literally right in front of the Capitol. And I'll be posting far as that name. And my goal is to have many people there. To start a big push to help victims of human trafficking.
And is there a website where people can make a donation, a charitable contribution?
501c3 too. It's firststops.org, firststops with an S.org. And like I said, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Well, we will definitely be supporting you and really what you're doing. I mean, that's really was my visions for the Laws of Life, was to highlight community heroes, and you definitely are a community hero for doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful example that you're setting, and I think it would be great to get some kids out there at the beginning of the walk or at the end of the walk so they can learn from your example, Roger, because it's a pretty incredible act of sacrifice to walk so many miles.
Yeah, matter of fact, last time I'm laying down thinking, man, it's gonna be a long walk. Like it really hit me last night.
Hey, but, you know what you need? A shoe sponsor.
I have Runners Depot.
Okay.
Runners Depot. Renee, she's been great. They've given me a couple pair of shoes, shirts, and the shoes are awesome. You know how Runners Depot is. I don't know if
I've
you've
never been there.
They watch how you walk. They give you shoes based on your foot, the arch of it. They're very thorough. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Runners Depot as well as Emergency. Okay. They're sponsoring me.
Great.
And Live Well Chiropractor out in Davie with John and his wife.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so it's.
Is there still an opportunity for people to sponsor your walk?
Sure. Yeah.
So another business opportunity is if you want to sponsor the walk, you can reach out. And what's the best way of contacting you, Roger?
954-488-4451.
So we'll definitely put that on our Facebook page, and we really wish you the best of luck in your journey. And so part of this journey was you coming on to the Laws of Life, you introducing me to my new friend Lena. Mm-hmm. And then last week I was speaking at Capital Business Solutions, and I was talking to them about how excited I was for you both to come on the show, and they introduced me to Becky. So it was like all of us coming together, and Becky Diamond with the Hephzibah House has been also just a tremendous source of education and data and experience in working with survivors of sex trafficking. So as we continue to weave your story, Lena, so we're at the point in your story where essentially you're with a client and he essentially offers to help you
Yes.
escape. And how did that happen?
Well, we were just talking, and as I told you previously, I have never hidden that I'm trafficked for exactly that person. Hopefully someone will come and take me serious and help me, because usually everybody will tell you, I will help you, but not many of them really meant it. But for whatever reason, I kind of believed this guy, and then I thought, you know what, I have nothing to lose, and if I don't try, I don't know. So I decided to take the risk, and I said, yeah, sure. And the words what he told me, what really impressed me and made me believe that he doesn't have any bad thoughts, was he told me, you might be in trouble, but I'll be as much as trouble as you are. So it's both ways, right? So that was the moment when I realized that he really meant it, because
So how did it happen? He took you in his car? Or
yes, one day he just came from vacation and he came by me and he said, okay, do you want to leave? And I said, yeah. And just I took off. And then was another moment what was really hard after you left, because I had to throw all my phones, because my trafficker, of course, will call and he will look after me. That's what they do. So I was living the next few months after I ran away, I was living in tremendous fear. I have never ever had such experience in my life.
Where did
such
you
a
go?
great fear.
Where were you living?
Well, I went to his place, and luckily he was living outside the city, so was not that close. Yes, was not that close in the area where my traffickers were living.
Okay.
So, okay, that was at least the good part. But still, the fear you have, you might be the other side of the world. But one thing what traffickers are good in, they keeps you by the fear. You might be far away, other side of, but once they get your fear, you're not gonna do anything because of the fear. And that's one of the major problems of the people who are trafficked. I
can't even begin to imagine the fear.
Well, it's horrible, and to be honest with you, even until that day, I still have my moments of fear and kind of obnoxious if I see a strange car or behind me, if it's a car behind me, and with the people who I talk, I'm always extra precautious with everyone I talk or meet.
How did you meet Roger?
Well, I met him, I just went to internet and I was looking for events. So I did an event, and then I speak a few words about human trafficking, my experience. And there he was introduced to me as the guy who is going to walk and bring awareness, for human trafficking and that. So that was a great meeting, actually, because I thought what he's doing is just great, and
you really are. You're bringing awareness. I mean,
and we need more people doing that as him. More people, even if it's something little.
100%. So you, how long did it take you to acclimate back to a more normal life after escaping?
Well, what took me quite some time, but was not as long as other girls will take them. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody deal in a different way.
Where did you go after Holland? Did you stay in Europe?
I stayed in Holland, actually. I went against my pimp. The trafficker. So I bring him to the court, and I was furious to stand up and just bring him to the court. And
you pressed criminal charges?
Yes, I did.
That must have taken an incredible amount of bravery.
Yes, it did. But I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna go and do it, because if I don't do it, he will go and get someone else.
You know, that takes a lot of bravery. Roger, what kind of cases are you seeing in the courtroom these days, and did any of those cases tie to your experience in bringing awareness?
Well, to be honest, there aren't many on the state level as far as trafficking cases. Those are mainly federal. but the few I've seen, there was one years ago where this guy, he would train these younger young men, teenagers in the neighborhood. He would train them to meet
To lure.
these innocent, untainted girls. He would, help teach them how to groom them for a life of prostitution. So you know what I mean?
Yes.
So there was a case years ago that we had, and that really that stuck with me through the years, because these young men, they looked up to this older guy, and so they pretty much did what he said, and so they carried that on to these ladies, and unfortunately, they were successful.
How did you, I mean, most people, you do work full time as a bailiff, right?
Right.
How are you able to take the time to go on this walk for over 40 days?
I saved a lot of vacation time, a lot of personal days, a lot of holiday time, and a lot of comp days, as we call them. And that's what I'm doing. Now, the sheriff's office, they've been very supportive as far as me doing this. So I appreciate that.
That's great. That's great. Another great law of life. Save up your vacation days to take a journey that you've never taken before.
Right.
And that's pretty extraordinary. Speaking of laws of life, I'm going to ask you both this question.
Sure.
What is your number one law of life that you live by?
Treat others the way I want to be treated. Because I found out years ago in this thing called life that what truly goes around comes around. And how you treat people, that's going to make or break you.
And wonderful. And how about you, Lena?
Well, I would say the same. I'm just trying to be kind and nice and help as much as I can, and not in a way that I want something back. I'm just trying to do everything from myself and help.
And after telling your story, which as I said takes so much courage to tell this story, what do you hope to teach the community about your experience? If you could tell them to learn one lesson from this, what would it be?
Well, they need to have the willing to get educated on the problem. You cannot treat the disease if you're treating only the symptoms. What they see is just the symptoms, but actual disease is still there, and you need to get educated and get knowledge just to be able to fight against traffickers. And pay attention on the loved ones, and if your kids want to talk to you or you see some strange behavior, don't approach them, oh, you shouldn't do that or this. Just go and ask them why they do that, why they feel that way. Give them the space to come to you and talk to you, because in many cases, that's from where the problem is starting, in broken families or misunderstanding with the parents or misunderstanding with the friends, and an ability for them to be able to come forward and talk without being judged.
I definitely agree with that, and I've learned a tremendous amount from your story, and I'm sure we're going to be having more conversations. And Roger, thank you for bringing awareness to the cause of educating our community about sex trafficking. And you've taught us warning signs. You've taught us how to recognize it. We've also learned now how to refer to Roger's organization or to Becky Diamond's organization in order to help survivors get mental health treatment, get whatever they need, maybe sometimes shelter, food, whatever's necessary. And I look forward to continuing the conversation, and thanks for watching. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So, the Laws of Life Special Edition on bringing awareness to sexual trafficking is really attributable. I want to thank Roger D. Hart, Roger, for bringing us together, for bringing awareness to sex trafficking awareness and how to prevent it and how to get help. Can you let us know how we find you?
Sure. On Facebook, I love Facebook. Well, it reaches a lot of people at one time.
100%.
So my name, Roger D. Hart, or you can go to No More Miles Walk on Facebook, or my nonprofit, firststops.org.
And Becky, you had some closing statistics for us.
Statistically, 1% of women that get into trafficking escape. So Lena really is a walking miracle. The average life expectancy for a woman that's being trafficked is 7 years. 18 times higher chance of being murdered than a 7-Eleven clerk. In Palm Beach County, I've done the statistics for Palm Beach County, which is where our organization is located, and we estimate between 2,000 to 2,500 women being commercially sexually exploited in Palm Beach County. But that's only looking at data that I can verify from escort services, erotic massage parlors, and strip clubs, because porn production and brothels, they don't put that on their income tax. And so it's hard to verify that.
Exactly.
And the other thing I just wanted to say is when you're triggered, you know, whatever that looks like, estimates are you lose about 30 IQ points right when you really need them, right? And so here she is escaping, and just the fact of being so terrified, triggered, right? You know, your IQ drops. You cannot get access when you're emotional.
Fear minimizes the ability to make good judgments.
When you are emotional, when you're triggered, you're emotional. You don't have as much access to left brain that has the logical, rational, linear thinking kind of resources that you need in that kind of a critical situation. So that's very typical. Mm-hmm. And it's also how traffickers hold their victims, you know, hold their slaves by that terror, by you know, coercion, threat, force, and fraud.
And if anyone does need help, if anyone in the community becomes aware and needs housing, needs food, how would they contact you to help a survivor?
We're online. Our website is Hepzibah House, HEPZIBAHHOUSE.org. The hotline number for the United States is 888-37-37-888. If you're being trafficked or you feel like, oh my goodness, I think that's me, you can call that number and you can get help. They usually have it set up that they can get you out pretty quickly. Usually, you know,
and this
discreetly.
is something else. Everybody out there needs to know this information. If you see a sign, if you believe that someone is being trafficked or victimized, they can also call that number.
Right, and the other thing to remember is most cases are broken by regular mortals. You know, they go, whoa, that just looks weird. One case, there was 20 people being trafficked, and they were doing food service in Boca, and they were all in one 2-bedroom home, and they weren't being fed, and so they were actually going and getting garbage, you know, going in people's garbage cans to get food. And the neighbors are going, whoa, that's
suspicious.
Weird. So they called the police, and they discovered that they were being victimized.
And of course, call the police. I mean, as a community,
right,
we have an obligation to pay attention. And if you see something does not look right, or you think someone is committing a crime or someone is a victim, call the police. Better to be safe than sorry. Take an extra minute out of your day to help another human being. So Becky, thank you for being with us. You were a wonderful source of information today. And Lena, thank you for telling your actual story of survival.
You're welcome.
Took a lot of courage, and I know you're also doing some amazing things right now. You're very involved in the Women of Weston.
Yes.
Tell us a 1 minute on that.
Yes, I'm very excited because we just started a club which is called Women in Weston, and we're still working on our Facebook page, which soon it will be out. But I want to mention that we are a great team of women. Each of us is in a different businesses. Like we have a great nutritionist, we have a great florist, we have a great image maker, we have a great jewelry maker. We have a lot of these women which are actually there to help women who has a need, even if a talk or a problem or want to learn something from us. So just keep looking for our Facebook site, and hopefully we will meet you.
And post it on the Laws of Life Facebook so people can see it.
We will.
Well, I know I learned something today, and I hope all of you did as well. Thank you for watching this special edition of the Laws of Life on raising awareness for sexual trafficking, and have a great day. I hope you learned something today. I know I did. Thank you for watching the Laws of Life with Blanca Greenstein, and stay in touch and stay connected. Be well.